Everybody? Happy Monday to you. Hope that you're doing well. No matter what part of the world you're watching from, hope you're staying safe and doing the right thing, taking care of yourself and your families, your loved ones, and all that good stuff. All right, let me get myself situated here. Get the chat up and running. Let's see if a few of you guys are already on board. Oop. All right, hang on one second. There we go. Okay. Anwar's on, Jack's on, Andre's on. What's up, guys? King Nello is on. Make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up, my friends. Jack is watching Dexter. Jack, you're just now catching on to Dexter? The first couple seasons are really good. The last couple seasons were really bad. You'll see what I mean if you keep watching. Really, the first few seasons, though, were a lot of fun, man. But as far as like one of the worst show endings in the history of shows, it's up there. It might be number one. Like the last season was so bad. But fun show, though, for the first few years. All right, so we got our chat up and running. Let me go ahead and go live on Spreaker, and then we'll get the party started. All right, guys? And yeah, we got a great guest coming on here, probably about 10 minutes or so. Hello, fight fans. Welcome back to the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. This is episode number 215 for the week of April 4th. We are already about to be in April. Man, 1/3 of the year is up so far, and 2020 can just go to hell. We started off so good, and then March, everything just blew the hell up. It looks like it's going to be more of the same in April, but we don't have a whole lot of news in the boxing world to talk about, but we have a great guest coming up later here. We're going to talk to Terel, Vann, also known as TstreeT Contoversy, a guy that I just love his work, man. I love following him. And I've been following his stuff for a long, long time. He dates back to probably, I think, like 2010, 2011 with YouTube. He's been doing it for a decade. One of the real, as they say, OGs of boxing YouTube and doing it the right way, in my opinion. But before he calls in and we discuss things with him, a couple of quick news items, man. Some more postponements. Of course, Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin. That fight has been moved. They actually have a date to July 4th. Interesting date. July 4th. And Usyk Chisora, that has been postponed, but they don't have a date yet. Look, guys, as I was saying last week, the more folks I talk to in the industry, these big fights, most of them are going to be pushed back into the fall. I'm talking September and on. That's going to be when most of the big fights are pushed back to. It's unfortunate. But if Whyte Povetkin really does happen July 4th, that's great because people are going to need some fights, some entertaining fights to hold them over during the summer. Hopefully we don't just have a bunch of club shows over the summer. But as far as Olympic boxing, well, we didn't know if Olympic boxing was going to happen in 2020 anyway because of all the issues with the AIBA. But the Tokyo Olympics, Tokyo Summer Olympics period, whole thing's been pushed back to 2021. They're saying no later than summer of 2021. It's even possible that the quote-unquote Summer Olympics get started in late winter or in the spring next year, which is kind of crazy to think about. But man, we are in crazy times. Also, coronavirus has hit the boxing community. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the news. I see Chris Bergen in the chat talking about Anthony Yard's father actually died from coronavirus, right? And we have several fighters here in the States that have tested positive that are currently in quarantine. And some trainers, a former cut man, died from coronavirus. So it's affecting all of us, man. And some of you guys saw the video I put out on my channel today talking about Boxing Monthly magazine, who's been a big part of my life and a big part of this show. Boxing Monthly magazine will be no more. The May issue coming out will be the last one. So whether you subscribe to Boxing Monthly or not, I highly recommend picking up the May issue that comes out in about a month, because it will be a collector's item. That's going to be the last one. And guys, this fight publication dates back to the 80s. A couple of you guys have asked me, will the whole thing go dark, or will it just be the magazine and the website will carry on? As far as I understand it, it's the whole thing. Our website's getting cut, the whole deal. So we just heard from the publisher today. Some emails went around, but we haven't been given a whole lot of details. We've just been told basically that May issue is the last one. But as far as I understand it, from the communications I've seen, it's going to be the magazine and the website. So everything's going away. And there are contributors there at Boxing Monthly Mag that go back decades. I mean, the magazine goes back to the 80s. You think about that, guys. A lot of you guys watching this right now weren't even alive when the magazine started. So it's just sad, man. It hit me kind of hard because I have a lot of great memories, and there's been some wonderful people who have looked out for me and given me a chance and given me my first real big break in this business that are tied to Boxing Monthly. So that was pretty sad, man. But we're not going to do a totally sad show here. We're gonna have some fun. TstreeT's going to jump on, and I want to talk to him a lot about the YouTube boxing community as a whole, because he's been around a lot longer than me, and he's seen things change. And he's one of the more outspoken guys on YouTube that I really enjoy. I think he does it the right way. And I can relate to him because he's an opinionated guy, an independent-minded guy. And when you are opinionated and you have an independent mindset about things, you're going to piss people off. And I know he's pissed a lot of people off. I've pissed a lot of people off, but he's consistent. He's consistent. And that's one thing I try to be. I don't change the grading or anything for a fighter or whatever, depending on what platform they're on, what network, what promoter they're with, what country they come from, whatever. And I know he's the same way. So I think we're going to have a good chat. That's going to be a lot of fun, man. We could all use that. We're probably going to swear a little bit today, guys. So don't be too triggered, okay? If you're watching, I imagine most of you are watching this at home because you've been quarantined from the office or from school or whatever. But if any of you are watching this somewhere in mixed company where people might be offended, just put on headphones. Listen with some headphones on, because I don't know how deep we're going to get into this stuff with the LDBC and all this stuff. But look, my man TstreeT, he's got some opinions. So, there might be some F-bombs and this and that flying. So all I'm saying, guys, is, just be prepared. It's okay. We can have a little fun today, all right? It doesn't all have to be so serious. We can have a little fun. As always, I forgot to remind you guys, number one, the phone lines for the USA, 213-267-7787, the UK, 02081-036-051. Call in, okay? I want you guys to call in to talk with TstreeT and myself, but give us 10, 15 minutes. Let us get into the conversation a little bit, and then we'll start taking some calls, okay? I have noticed that, I don't know what's going on with the digital media stuff, but I've talked to several guys, and it's not just on YouTube, it's on websites too, like ringtv.com and other sites I work with, where just views are down, clicks are down at a time where they should be up. So I think there's issues right now with YouTube, with the algorithm, and you guys seeing the live videos and stuff. It's very, very odd that since the shutdown, the last couple weeks, all the views and stuff have gone down. I don't know what the hell is going on, but whether you're watching this live right now or listening live on Spreaker, or you listen to this later, I think you guys will have fun. But as always, I remind you and request, I ask that you go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, everywhere else where this podcast is heard, and drop a rating, drop a review. Make sure you're sharing it. Make sure you get the word out there, all right? Because that is so damn important, particularly at a time like right now where content creators are feeling the crunch right now big time, okay? You guys know that I do YouTube kind of like as a side piece to my other work in boxing. So I have a lot of different revenue streams, if you will, in the sport. It's nickels and dimes, but those nickels and dimes add up. But there are a lot of guys doing really good content, whether it be on YouTube or anywhere else, that are feeling the pinch, man, because I think that the bandwidth with all the streaming platforms and all that is affecting things. I've heard that out of LA and out of the Bay Area there in California, which they basically run all this stuff. All media really is run out of California, and the bandwidth has hit them hard, and there's been issues with a lot of the streams and stuff like that. So just be mindful of that, guys, and make sure that you're sharing, that you're spreading the word, that you're getting the word out about the show. All right, so let me look here in the chat. There's just honestly no news to talk about. So actually, one thing I'll give a shout out to Joe Habib in the Ringside Reporter podcast. He put out a video today about quote unquote new media, quote unquote. And that's a term that, I kind of have a little fun with myself. That he was just giving some thoughts on that I really, really agree with a lot of what he said. And I highly recommend that video. And it relates to the subject matter I'll be speaking with TstreeT about in just a few minutes here. So make sure you guys check that out. Ringside Reporters channel, Joe Habib put out a video about the quote unquote new media. I think all this new media, old media stuff, it's so stupid and it's so divisive. And, at a time like today, where I just found out Boxing Monthly, again, that is a publication that's been around for over 30 years and it's going away. I mean, man, in the boxing community, we need to stick together more. We need to stop with the petty bullshit. And that's why I've been more vocal about calling out some of these guys. And I know TstreeT he's beefed with several of them. And but increasingly, there are more people calling out these clickbait channels, these divisive race baiting channels, because they're making money. They're making a ton of money because some of these channels have followings, tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of followers. They're making money, so they're eating well, but they're really damaging the community, man. This kind of stuff right now, we need to be coming together. We need to be working together. Boxing is a niche sport. There are only a handful of countries in the world where boxing is what you call like a top 5 sport. You could count them with one hand, okay? But guys, I'm telling you right now, man, we need to stick together on this thing. All right, we need to be working together in the boxing community. Stop with all this divisive bullshit. It is damaging the sport. We already have too many clicks and all that in this sport, man. It's just, yeah. Anyway, let's see here. We got a caller online. Let me see if this is TstreeT. Let me jump over here and get this call. TstreeT, is that you?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you well, my friend. Terel Vann, everybody, Mr. TstreeT Controversy. We are live, my friend.
Yeah, happy to be here. What's going on? Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for doing it, man. We're going to get into it here in a minute. I just...
staying safe, coronavirus free.
Yeah, hopefully. So far, right? That's the goal right now, man. That keeps putting everything in perspective for me. As much as... I get pissed off, I'm bored and everything else going on with the quarantine life. You hear some of these stories. Folks, Anthony Yard's father just passed away. So it's real shit. And it's, I know you've been through a lot of health problems yourself in recent years. And it puts things in perspective, right? Just always keep that perspective. All right, we got a super chat pledge from Ray Valera. He says, great collab. I'm loving the guest, Mike. Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate that. And TstreeT, in a minute here, I want you to talk a little bit about yourself and your background in the sport. I know a lot of people watching this right now on my channel are probably already big fans of your work like I am, but just the case for the few folks who are not. I know that you've been running this current channel you have since 2014. You were on another channel back before that, back to 2010, and you started your own site, FightView 360, since 2016. So you've been around the YouTube boxing community basically for a decade. Could you talk a little bit about just your background and what you do?
Yeah, the first videos I ever did was on in November of 2010. So I was in my last year at college at the time, and basically, my former partner, the channel I was on, Into the Arena, he was like, basically, well, have you ever thought about doing YouTube videos? Because at that point in time, I was always known in our circle of college friends to be well educated in boxing. So, to fast forward a little bit, the first video I ever did on YouTube, got drunk. It was Manny Pacquiao versus Shane Mosley. And what ended up happening was out of nowhere, the first video got like 75,000 views in like a week or some shit like that. So as we fast forward, I was only doing about one video a month with him. So he had to pull teeth to get me to do videos. So I was at a turning point in my life. I had finished school. I was bartending, and also I was having some health issues as well. So as I was home, I work from home now, I said, well, you know what? Let me start taking this boxing on YouTube seriously, because I used to be, no filter. I'm not even talking about the Oscar De La Hoya shit, like all that, no professionalism, just straight get some news like people are doing now and just do a video with no context. Just, have a few beers, drinks, and just go hard. So as time went on, I'm going to say about 2013 or so, I didn't want to just be known as the dude that just was this, how they say, in your mom's basement doing videos from your couch.
Right.
So I wanted to expand, but me and my partner at the time into the arena, we hit a wall. So I decided to go on my own, and this was in the late summer of 2014. And basically I said, okay, well, how can I offer something that other people aren't doing? So I said, okay, well, nobody's doing their videos live and uncut. There wasn't too many people out there that was able to do videos still to this day to get the videos out as fast. So what I focus on is all my videos after every single major fight, for the most part, unless I'm not healthy or whatever, I do them all live and uncut. There's no edit. So therefore, if somebody gets knocked out, no matter what round it is, whenever the final bell, I'm giving you, audio of the post-fight interview, my full live reaction. So I was doing that then. But I said, well, wait a minute. What if I'm able to, do my post-fight content, but have the credibility of being a media member to be able to say, okay, well, instead of me being at this fight, instead of me covering this fight from home, well, this weekend I'm going to be out in the field and do my video, the next morning. So, as time was going on, 2014, 2015, my health started to decline. And I do want to say this. Listen, you do not want to get pneumonia. You do not want to deal with a issue where you're going to feel like you're breathing out of a straw. 2 years ago today, I was in physical therapy where I was paralyzed pretty much from the waist down because I was in a coma for 3 weeks because I had respiratory failure. So from my understanding, this is what this virus is doing to people in regards to attacking people with respiratory issues, or as they say, underlying health conditions. So one thing for sure is that you can, they're telling you that, this amount of people died and all that, but they're not telling you how painful that shit is. So, the point I'm trying to make to you is you want to make sure you stay home. But I know I'm rambling on, but basically, the point I'm trying to make is what I'm trying to, to answer your question. I have been on YouTube for a long time. And now I'm at a crossroads because, what me and you talked about before is I just feel boxing media is trash. Like, not all. not all.
But a lot. Yeah.
But as I was listening, before, we don't have that unity. Like, for example, look at the UFC. Look at their media. We don't have that type of shit, like where from my understanding, you don't see people stepping out of line and overstepping boundaries with fighters and all that shit over there. Because they don't tolerate it. To where here in boxing media, what do you have? You have people who just say whatever they want with no type of repercussions, or just what the fuck.
Yeah, I'm with you,
but
man.
Go ahead, man. I don't want to take over your show. I can
No,
talk.
dude, you're here because I want you to take over. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get into this a lot, but I really wanted to talk to you specifically about the fight media and quote unquote new media and all this shit. Guys, for those of you, again, I think I'm just looking here at the live chat. Gail Falcathal with the super chat pledge. She says, "Amen, brother." She's definitely on board. Gail knows her shit. She's really, really Just she was on the show a couple weeks back, and one of the people I respect most in the business. But I'm just looking here at the chat. Most of the people here know your work already, but for the people who don't, guys, make sure that you follow Terel, because even if you go, like, your Facebook cracks me up, man. Like, one thing that you're really good at that I'm trying to do better about is you post a lot. You post a lot of stuff. And one thing that you do that I also do as well and try to do, particularly on Twitter, it's not just boxing. You'll tweet out jokes. You'll tweet out things about pop culture, about politics, whatever it is. And because you do that, I know that you offend some people. You rub some people the wrong way, particularly the overly sensitive types. But you are just being yourself, and you're putting it out there. You're not putting on a face. You're not putting on an image or anything like that. It's one of the things I've always really respected about you, man. Some of your profile pics on Facebook are fucking hilarious, the photoshops and everything else. But to go back to your point about upper respiratory stuff with COVID-19, yeah, guys, I mean, full disclosure, my mother has lupus, and she has respiratory issues. So she's right in the wheelhouse as far as somebody that is very susceptible to this disease. Look, when it first started, I was pretty vocal saying, man, we can't all be living scared. You know, we got to go out and do shit. We got to go out and work and make money. And I still agree with that to a degree, but you got to be smart about this shit. You just got to be smart about it. And now we're in a stage where it's affecting everybody in different ways. So anyway, all right, tangent. Brother, let's talk about YouTube, okay? A lot of people know me, particularly younger fans. They know me as a YouTuber guy, but I was a boxing writer 15 years ago, and I just started doing YouTube a few years ago. And when I did, you were one of the guys I looked to as someone I wanted to emulate because of your style, because of the way you put it all out there, and you give your opinions, and you're consistent about it. You don't change the way you grade things or break things down dependent on, you know, the platform a fighter's on or what nation he's from. You keep it consistent. And because you do that, again, you ruffle feathers and piss people off. But if you are consistent enough, you're going to piss everybody off at some point. When I first got involved, the term that I always heard on YouTube was the YTBC, the YouTube boxing community.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning, right? And then at some point, it turned into this thing called the LDBC, which is just a part of the YouTube community, and that's the Lions Den boxing community. Now, I want to ask you, when did that happen? Why did it happen? And when did it become, really start to turn over the last year or so, it seems, into this cult where now even members of the LDBC are beefing with each other, and we've seen some fighters calling them out. Ishe Smith. If you guys are not following Ishe Smith on Twitter right now, you need to. He's fucking hilarious, and he's been battling Fred Hawthorne, who's one of these guys on the LDBC. But anyway, man, if you can you give a little bit of like the background, since you were there and you saw this, like the evolution of YouTube boxing?
Well, now it's the worst that it's ever been, and it's just completely.
That's what I was going to ask you. So you really would say it's worse now than it's ever been?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, basically, it really started, I guess, you know, with the whole swing of the LDBC part. It really, from the YouTube boxing community to the LDBC part, it really, I'm going to say, around the beginning of when PBC first started.
Okay, dude, I was going to ask you about that. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, but that seems to me that's when it started, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the end of the the Mayweather era of the Pacquiao and Berto, and then the creation of the PBC. That's where it all started, and it really all started from a fewer people. Now, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to bring these people names up. They already know who they are. They already know I've been very, very vocal about this shit from the very beginning. I've met many of them in person, worked with pretty much all of them, all of the ones that are out in the field. I've worked with them in person, had some type of conversation in some type of capacity, in some capacity whatsoever. So they know me. It's not a situation where I'm on here talking and they like, oh, well, we don't ever see. They know me. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this, like, they know how I feel about it. I think it's a scam.
Yeah.
I look at it like if we're being honest, their fan base they can't go against. So once they say something about a fighter, especially if a fighter is not a black fighter, they have to continue with it. And then it's that trickle down effect of all the people that are under them, the other YouTubers, those smaller ones, they got to go with the shit too. You know, because they're hoping that, well, if they're making all this money from the super chat and shit up there, then I'm going to do a video after them and add some new fucking shit on top of it. And I'm going to get some super chat too. And then it trickles down. And before you know it, you got this whole army of YouTube channels just fucking saying just bullshit, basically shit that can't be really, really validated. Now, I know I'm sure, we can go on all day about Fury versus Wilder 3. But here's the biggest thing, issue I have is how do you create narratives from nothing, from a fight from over a year ago where the person you're trying to defend hasn't said shit? He's quiet.
Yeah.
So this is how bad it's got, where they can just say whatever they want, go to, fighters' faces, be around the managers, be around the promoters, smile all in their face, then go back to their channels and shit, and they be like, this person's a racist, that person's a racist, this, and that. None of it makes sense. And honestly, I really feel like the people that have been in charge have created this problem because they kept allowing these motherfuckers in. Like I said, you don't see this shit happening in the UFC. You don't see it happening in the fucking NBA, in the NFL, and other sports where you got media on a big platform like YouTube, a whole big pocket of them who call themselves media. They have access to the events, just creating just bullshit racial ass narratives for money. That shit is weird to me.
Yeah, man. I've always asked myself, does this exist in other sports? And I mean, it has to, right? I'm sure it exists in other sports to a certain degree. The difference is, if there's a let's say a group of people on the NBA that only talk about white NBA players and bash all the black NBA players, I am quite sure that they're not getting media access to NBA games, or if a couple of them sneak in, they eventually get called out. The one thing with the LDBC people is it really did seem to pop up around the time that the PBC was starting. And there were guys like me on the fight beat in LA, which is the mecca of boxing in North America now. It's not New York, it's Los Angeles. And being on the beat and being at all the press conferences, including the PBC ones, I started to notice some trends. And I spoke up about it. Some of my colleagues did too. And we were labeled all those names, racist, this, that, the other. They ignore all the work we do with people of every stripe, but they will pick and choose what tweet to post. I still got guys out there that save screen tweets of mine from over a year ago and purposely take it out of context to try to paint me a certain way. It happens all the time. And these younger fans buy into this shit. I've always felt, just based on what I saw, that the PBC didn't create the monster. Not at all, and I would never suggest that. But there were some people at the PBC that were friends with some of these people in the LDBC. It would give them press credentials, would get them access to these events because the PBC needed people to promote their shows. And I do think there were certain elements in the PBC that they were trying to market to. And so there were favors being done there. And this shit happens, I should state, it's 2020, so I have to preface everything. This shit happens in every walk of life. Every promoter does this to a degree. Every platform.
Hell yeah.
People do puff pieces for it goes every single direction. But in American boxing over the last few years, I've just seen it happen more and more on one side than the rest. Am I way off on this, or is it happening more in one direction? And is it because these guys are making money and that's why they're going down that road?
I mean, to really, don't get me wrong. Like you said, the people who are in charge of the credentials and all that. Yes, they have been aiding in it. They were, or at least, from my understanding, they've woken up a little bit. I'm going to leave that at that part. But from what I can see is that when it was going on, or when that first whole movement started from the YouTube boxing community to the LDBC and all their guys under it. Now, let me say this. There is some good people in there.
Absolutely.
Some of them are not with the LDBC movement anymore because they don't want to be stuck in that box. I've talked to some of them, on the phone where they've reached out and said, damn, just because I didn't agree with this, motherfuckers then turned on me. and now they calling me all kind of coons and all kind of shit like that because
Right.
I don't agree with the shit that that they're spewing. Now, in my case, I'm going to say it really, really started with me when I was like, yo, Prime Pacquiao could beat Mayweather. That was when it started with me. Like, oh, you're going against, like your race. Like, and then when Adrian Broner had lost to Marcus McDonald because they tried to pass that shit on to him. Like, oh, he's going to be our new guy, kind of like, Deontay Wilder. Like,
Yep.
right now where they can't really accept, like, yo, the motherfucking man lost. It ain't no motherfucking racial conspiracy. Like, and if y'all touting this conspiracy shit, then where is Deontay Wilder at? But to get back to the point I was trying to make is that obviously there's racism in boxing. And like you said, it's 2020. It's a shame that we got to say that shit, that we got to put disclaimers out there, or people are so fucking dumb and you got to dumb yourself down. They be like, well, let me make sure I say this just in case they get fucking, like offended. But every time a boxer comes along, and it seems as though, community support, when that boxer loses, they don't know how to take it. They got to blame somebody else when the fighter usually is not blaming somebody else.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
And I get it.
The pressure they put on these
say,
guys.
well, yeah, you know what they're going to say. Well, like Mexicans go for Mexicans. Yeah, we get it. White fighters, white people go for white fighters. We get all that shit. But sometimes that shit is taken way too far to the extreme. And then somebody like me, they don't like when I call that shit out. Because I don't give a fuck. My life is the same. I do videos, and I had to learn a long time ago. You can't care what people think about you if you're gonna be in this business.
Yeah, if you put yourself out there at all, you can't care what people think about you in any entertainment platform or art platform, anything like that. Here's the difference, though, bro. If somebody like myself or some of my other colleagues, back at Undisputed Champion Network, Ring Magazine, whatever it is, we would call out some of these guys. And
you can't say it. You can't because you're going to be a racist.
Well, we're called a racist, right? But if you do it, they can't call you a racist. They call you a coon. What's so funny, though, is, dude, I've criticized Eastern European fighters, white British fighters. I've been called racist against Russians. I've been called racist against British people. I've been called racist against Mexicans, even though Mexican isn't a race. There's white Mexicans, Native American Mexicans. There's even black Mexicans. I've been called racist against Asians, even though I'm engaged to one, because I had the audacity to say Floyd Mayweather clearly beat Manny Pacquiao. This shit goes in all directions. But again, I see it coming more and more and more from one place, more than anything else. And if you just speak about it honestly, maybe it's because we're in 2020, you just get trashed. And there's really nothing you could do. Like, I used to try to reason with people, and now I just block them and just ignore this shit. But sometimes you do get caught up in shouting matches. Recently, dude, when we had the Wilder Fury rematch, I put out a tweet just saying, as a lifelong boxing guy, thank you to the Mexican fans and to the British fans, because you guys are keeping the sport going. Without you, our sport would be almost dead. And most people enjoyed that tweet. I wasn't bashing everybody else, but dude, I got put on some website. It was shared on some black activist website the next day, and I started getting hit by all these people saying my tweet was racist against black people because I was saying thank you to the Mexican fans and British fans, which again, that's two nationalities. That's not two races. There are tons of black British fans because they call into my show every week. Somehow that was construed as being racist against black people because I didn't include them in the tweet. I didn't include Italian people in the tweet. I didn't include Jewish people. I didn't include a lot of people, Asian people. But why is it that this stuff is getting worse now when we have all this social media? People could go on Google. They could do research. They could find out how stupid this Glovegate theory is and all this shit, yet they don't. How is it getting worse now when we have more information? Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's called I don't know what it's called, like a phenomenon or whatever. I think it's like, to me, it's confusing because, to get back on that, it's hard for me to make up narratives and stories for a man like Wilder's not saying shit. And what I find like fascinating, and I do find it compelling, that you have these thousands and thousands of people who are watching these YouTube videos every day, donating hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and they won't go research it themselves. A guy like that YouTuber, I'm not going to say his name,
You're talking
the
about the
one that
young.
pretty much has been starting all this Glovegate shit. He's not even a boxing YouTuber.
Knows nothing about boxing.
And he does a few videos, pull out footage from a fight from over a year ago. Mind you, of everything that we know that the gloves have to go through to get onto the fighter's hands, but yet they just ran with it. Why? It's because they couldn't accept that this man, who, by the way, hasn't said anything, since this whole coronavirus shit broke out, who is saying he's our king, they couldn't accept that he lost. Like that. And I like crazy. Like, and the problem I have with him as a fighter is that he really influenced a lot of this shit by giving a lot of these guys the platform. Yeah. And he ain't really never been like that from what people know about him. He grew up like that. And now he missed the Black King Lion and all that shit. I can't stand it. Like, I know. I can't wait until he comes back because the pressure's going to be on him. And I want to hear what he's got to say about this old ass year-old footage.
Yeah, I would, you and I talked on the phone last week a little bit about some of this, and we brought up Deontay's name, and I think you have to bring up his name. And a lot of people have accused me of bashing Deontay unfairly or going a little too hard and rejoicing in the fact that he lost. I have nothing against Deontay Wilder as a human being, but he fed this monster, did he not? Did he not feed the whole to this day shit? Did he not racialize the fights with Tyson Fury when he did that?
Yeah, he tried to.
And Tyson Fury, when he was kind of baited into a racial question by Jason Whitlock before the rematch, he said, hell no, I ain't going there. That's the difference in how these two guys have handled this. I think it does say a lot, though. You alluded to this. Fury talked about the 45-pound suit and all the telepathy between Terel and Mark Breland and all this. But he ain't said shit about Glovegate. He ain't said shit about it. And that tells you all you need to know about Glovegate. There's nothing there. If I were Deontay Wilder, though, I'd put out a video on social saying, guys, stop doing this shit. There's nothing to it. Just support me in a third fight. Buy the pay-per-view. Buy tickets to that fight. In the meantime, stay safe, blah, 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 blah. But there's been nothing. There's been absolute radio silence. And I just think that, look, dude, we could go down a list of fighters that feed into the crazy narratives, that feed into the bullshit, again, from all walks of life. But I think you have to hold some people accountable. And to me, Deontay Wilder racialized those fights to a certain degree. Now, did he take it as far as some of these other guys on YouTube? Did he make it a race war? No, obviously not. Deontay Wilder's not that kind of guy. But if we're going to blame other fighters, right now, Billy Joe Saunders just got suspended by the British Commission, right, for making a joke about hitting women. Now, what he said was fucking stupid and ridiculous. And if they want to suspend him, I fully support that. I think what they're doing is an empty gesture. But this dude got suspended for saying words, right, like that. Compare that to some of the things Deontay Wilder has said. Zero outrage. I just think there's a double standard sometimes, bro.
Yeah, well, it's this soft ass generation we're in. You can't say shit. In regards to the Billy Joe Saunders, let me just touch on it a little bit. He know better, And the thing is, like with his reputation, if it was somebody else, they probably wouldn't have did it. I got to be honest with you. It depends. But he has a very, very crazy relationship with them.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, you can't be putting shit like that out. But I do feel that in regards to free speech, you can't just go, taking away, people's livelihood over some shit they saying and joking around, especially when we know he's not a Messianic comedian, but you got comedians, that's what they do. Like,
exactly.
It's just, I don't know, it's a slippery ass slope.
I agree.
But in this day and age, you can't really, like, it's a shame, especially with how people take shit to heart and turn it into what they want it to be. You can't really say shit. I had to learn the hard way. Like that's how life is these days. People are going to take things you're going to say, especially somebody like me, big black man who does loud YouTube videos. They think I'm this crazy person in public. You see what I'm saying? That's just how life is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think look, I am a big supporter of free speech. Unless you're outright doing something libelous or which people do to me on Twitter all the time, or you're threatening somebody. I am a huge supporter of free speech, but sometimes that free speech will get your ass in trouble. I've learned that the hard way. I've tweeted things that I look back, I'm like, I shouldn't have tweeted that. I've said things, I shouldn't have said it that way. I could have said this better. But you're supposed to learn from those mistakes and do better.
But also,
go ahead.
To touch on free speech, to go back to the media thing, that's where, it's a double-edged sword, because you do have a lot of the YouTubers that we're talking about that have that free speech, and they don't do nothing good with it, just make up shit to make money.
That's exactly where I was going. Yeah.
It's been going on right now so long, is that they have nothing else to really grasp. That's what they do. That's what they're known for. And you got to think about how many young boxing fans that they are influencing with this bullshit.
Exactly.
So, they have younger boxing fans or younger inspiring media members that are watching them thinking like, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to start my YouTube channel. And, I'm going to start talking about the same stuff that they're talking about. And, I'm going to go with that narrative. Oh, wait, I can't go with the white boxer. Every time a white or a Mexican boxer or whatever other race go with fights a black fighter, I have to always go with the black fighter. And it's a shame, because you would see in certain fights where, and I would go to their channels just to troll for fun. They all block me, by the way. Where I'll say, well, I can't wait to see. I can't remember the last fight where it was a clear cut winner. Obviously not Wilder Fury. Well, they was crying that night too, before the Glovegate shit started. But I was like, I can't wait to see what type of bullshit narratives they make up for when this fighter loses. And sometimes it just would be completely, totally just like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like tabloid shit.
Just not to give the fighter like credit. Like
it's also, dude. Sometimes they will. So like, sometimes they'll go against a black fighter just because of the promoter he's with. Like they'll diss Terrence Crawford. They'll diss Anthony Joshua. Caleb Plant's for a fill in the blank because he's with PBC. And they'll pull that kind of shit too. And it's like, oh, see, we're fair because we like Caleb Plant. Yeah, but
Caleb Plant cool.
Yeah, Caleb Plant's cool. So I see, and again, guys, it's 2020, so I have to keep saying this. It goes in all directions, okay? It does go in all directions. But the thing with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, what's the most interesting part to me, nobody was bringing up the gloves. Nobody was bringing up Fury being a quote-unquote dirty fighter. None of this after the first fight, even up to the day before the second fight, because they needed Tyson Fury to look like a good win for Deontay Wilder, right? Yeah. When that backfired on them, they freaked the fuck out. And one of my Patreon guys last week made a great point. It's such a great point. I can't believe I haven't thought of it before. It's like the 2016 election. And guys, I'm a political independent. I'm not trying to say one way or the other. I didn't vote for either of the two motherfuckers in the last election. But everyone thought one person was going to win. Everyone. And when that person didn't win, the entire press corps and the 50% of the country lost their fucking mind. And for 2-3 years, it was conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory to try to explain what happened because they could not accept what happened. Some of you on the chat right now, just based off what I'm saying, will start going nuts just because of me bringing that up. I just think that's the way this Fury Wilder thing happened. And it almost, we need the third fight now because of these motherfuckers, because that third fight could finally shut everyone up. If Fury wins again, I think finally people will find a new subject to move on to. By then, Tank will have beat Leo Santa Cruz, and they'll start talking about Tank versus Loma, and that will be the new one. It always seems like there has to be one, though, right? That's going to be the new one.
But, a lot of people, what you were talking about earlier in the show, is that right now, boxing content creators, or just content creators in general in sports, it's not like, with its movies where, movies are coming out and people can do their videos on movies or Netflix documentaries. With boxing right now, there's no storyline. There's no real like storylines as in weekly because we don't have fights. We got to, rely on, well, this may happen. This might be coming up. This got canceled, the Billy Joe Saunders story. So what you're seeing is that You have people that have quit their jobs that have made so much money off of YouTube, have quit their day jobs, have made so much money off of YouTube from narratives and storylines and building that fan base and building that base up of off of those super chats and spreading, that, no fighters are good except the black fighters or the ones that we accept because they're with the black promoter. Like, it's a shame it's got to be that way, but right now, I expect, especially over the next couple of months, for it to get worse. And imagine, where's Deontay Wilder right now? What pressure does he have on his shoulders when he comes back? Because you got to think this might be going well for him, because they were trying, from my understanding, rumors were that, Finkel and the Wilder side, they wanted, July 18th was just too soon. They wanted him back.
It was never going to be July. It was always October.
Yeah, even if an injury came up or whatever the case may have been, I didn't expect for that fight, to take place during, this summer. But when Wilder comes back, imagine all the pressure he's going to have on his shoulders.
Exactly,
the first thing people are going to ask him is, okay, well, can you put it into this glove stuff? You can't tell me somebody, his handlers are not talking to him every day, making sure that he's going to know how to answer all of these questions when he comes back.
Yeah,
the pressure is high. And me personally, I like Deontay Wilder. We all know he has a puncher's chance, but I don't have him winning the third fight.
Yeah, I think it'll be more competitive than a lot of people think. I think it's probably going to go the distance, or at least into the late rounds. But I think it'll be more competitive than the second fight. But the amount of pressure that is put on Deontay, and look, I've been, I think, fair, but I've been very firm with Deontay that he is somewhat responsible for putting some of this shit on himself. But at the same time, he's not responsible for representing his entire race going into the fight with Tyson Fury. And that was put on him by a lot of his fans. The amount of pressure that was put on that guy. And now with the glove gate and everything else, he's not saying all this. He didn't make all this up, but that's going to be put on him before that third fight. And that's really unfair. And that's the biggest thing some of these YouTuber guys don't understand. Beyond dividing up the sport and creating a bunch of beefs and nonsense that really don't exist, labeling a bunch of people a bunch of things that they really are not, doing that for profit, which is, the nastiest, most fucked up kind of person you can be. Beyond that, they're actually hurting the fighters in the end, because they're putting a certain amount of pressure on these guys that they don't deserve and that they can't possibly live up to. And I just think that's unfair. TstreeT, can we take some calls, man? Are you cool with talking to some guys?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, bro. I think this is Mark right here. Is this Mark in Ireland?
No, it's Lawrence from London.
Lawrence from London. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Couple of things. I think I'll start with the Billy Joe story, because I'm a bit torn, and what he said was disgusting. But, I thought back to Floyd Mayweather when he was actually convicted of actual domestic violence, and Nevada allowed him to have his fight for money, essentially.
Yeah.
And the sort of comparison between, suspending a boxer for telling a joke in bad taste and allowing a convicted domestic violence criminal to go ahead with his fight before he, supporting him essentially is so vast that, I can't really support. I know it's two different sanctioning bodies, etc. I can't really get on side with, ban Billy Joe, it's so terrible, when we've got all of this quite awful stuff on the other hand.
That's a great point, man. And Lou DiBella, actually, I was talking with him a little bit on Twitter. We had a little bit of a back and forth today because I tweeted about the Billy Joe Saunders thing. And he brought up the fact that, here in the USA, man, anything flies. You talk about that Nevada commission. Dude, they sanctioned a fight between Floyd and a guy who had never boxed before, right? And that was a massive fight. I get why they did it, but Floyd was basically the economy of Nevada, the same way LeBron James was the economy of Ohio for so many years, right? So it all comes down to money. I told Lou, I think the NFL gives boxing a run for its money, because the NFL, there's a ton of guys there too that have done shit. The Major League Baseball, all of it. But yeah, man, it's a slippery slope, as TstreeT said, man, with speech, because Look, if you want to suspend a dude for 6 months, didn't Adrian Broner get suspended? I think by the WBC for saying something stupid too. But if you're going to start censoring people for speech, dude, we could get into a really, really tough place. I don't know. Terel, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You know, I like Billy Joe Saunders' reputation, you know, also. You know, as I said earlier, I don't know if it was another boxer, if they would have came down so hard on him. You know, so he's got a pretty, you know, like colored reputation with them, you know? So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost like he's the Irish Traveler version of Adrian Broner. He hasn't been arrested as many times, but he's said a lot of dumb shit over the years. Billy Joe Saunders, he's just a douchebag. He says a lot of stupid shit. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's not. Me, I got a sick sense of humor. I have a really dark sense of humor. Those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that. I joke around about shit. I tweeted something this weekend about the character from Something About Mary, Warren, the handicapped dude. Heavyweight mythical matchup between him and Sloth from the Goonies. That shit's funny to me. But a lot of people private messaged me and said, Mike, you should delete this. This is offensive. And I'm like, damn. But everyone's sense of humor is different, right?
Yeah, remember when Billy Joe, and I think, who was it in the card when he had offered a lady of the night some crack cocaine to attack somebody on the street? Remember that?
Yeah. I remember when Billy Joe Saunders' kid punched, who did this kid punch in the nuts?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't David Lemieux.
No, it was Willie Monroe. It was Willie Monroe.
Willie Monroe in the nuts.
I remember seeing that. And I'm like, I just stopped back. If I punched if I was a little boy, when I was a little boy and I punched a grown man in the nuts, my dad would have beat the shit out of me on the spot.
Yeah, Nando's chicken incident. You know, he's got a pretty checkered, you know.
So you look at the way he's raising his kids. If his kid's punching another man in the nuts and he knows nothing's going to happen. In fact, Billy Joe kind of giggled a little bit. I mean, you could just tell the dude's got a little bit of a screw loose. Not really a good guy. Yeah. So maybe that's why he got suspended. But here's my thing. The BBBFC, which is dog shit, if they suspend him for 3 months, that don't mean shit. Even if you suspend him for 6 months, it don't mean shit right now. Even if they suspend him for a year, dude could still come over here and fight in the United States. So I don't know what's going to come from this.
That's what I was thinking. You know,
it's an empty gesture.
If the Canelo fight was over here, like, how does that affect, you know, I don't get that part.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I just think it's an empty gesture. Bro, I'm going to you got any more questions?
One more quick thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So on Deontay Wilder, personally, I don't really like his persona, and I sort of give him more. I accuse him more than you do in terms of, you know, setting that stage of sort of turning it into a quasi-racial fight. Even after the second fight, he sort of put out this weird video, "Your king will rise again," that sort of thing, and he's really playing into it. I really feel like the pressure that he's now got on himself to represent a group of people, a race, he's, if anything, doubling down. I don't know what the king will rise again language means. I'm black myself, and I feel like, personally, it's a bit of a...
He's saying he's our king, bro. He's saying he's our king.
I mean, I don't like it because it seems very.
I'll let you two guys talk this out. I'll pull back, so because I'm not allowed to talk about that.
I mean, no one signed him. You know, the Black Panther suit. He didn't win it in combat, so I just find it like a very weird angle to go for, and he seems to be doubling down. So all the pressure that comes with that, he's put on his own shoulders, and you know what he's like with wearing heavy suits.
Yeah, look, you know, TstreeT, again, when we talked last week a little bit about Deontay, I think we both agree with this. Deontay's really not that guy, because I met Deontay back in like 2014, maybe it's 2013, 2014 for the first time. And he was this sweet, humble country boy that was just the nicest guy and totally just open and welcoming. I talked with him. My fiance talked with him, took a picture with him, and he is completely changed. And I don't know if he's trying to build a character. And look, that character has helped him make a lot of money. I just don't know. My thing is this. if you're building this character and you're going to do that, you're going to go that route, cool. Own it. You can't do that, though, and then turn around 5 minutes later in some interviews and say, man, I ain't getting the mainstream love because of my race. 5 minutes after saying, I want a body on my record, and to this day, you can't turn around and say, I ain't getting the mainstream love. If I was a white guy or an Asian guy, I'd be getting all the love. Dude, it's because you're saying douchey shit. Billy Joe Saunders ain't getting the mainstream love either because he's saying douchey shit. It's just what happens. It's par for the course. It doesn't matter where you come from. Am I off base on that, guys, or am I somewhere?
Right now, I mean, listen, he's saying he's our king. He's been insinuating he's like, or trying to portray to us like he's going to be our Muhammad Ali and all that type of shit. Like, he's been putting this pressure on him, and now, in the time of crisis, I'm going to say it, like, my biggest issue, and people got bent out of shape with me about something I posted, like, why is Deontay Wilder not said nothing? Our last video, you saying you are a king, but yet, right now, where are you at? Give us some toilet paper or something. Anything. Like, seriously. Like, he put all this on his
toilet paper's white, bro. He can't be giving people that shit.
Something, he got to do something. He got to do something. You can't just disappear like that. I'm sorry. And then think you're going to try to pop back up and try to get our money. Like, everything is shut down right now. He's supposed to be doing something. In my personal opinion, he's supposed to be doing something.
That's the key, because it's all vacuous. It's an image. It's a act, and I kind of find it offensive because
not one video. My bad.
You should back it up.
Not one video of him saying, "Hey guys, wash your hands, stay in the house." That's it. 10 seconds. That's it. You can't hear.
Yeah.
Wash
That's a good point.
And we'll be back.
Yeah. All right, bro. I'm going to go to some more callers. All right, man. Thank you for your call, my man.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Man.
Let's jump to a couple more callers here. All right, 512. 512, you're on TNC. Go.
Oh, what's up, guys? How you guys doing today?
Good.
Chilling.
I just have two questions, and I'll probably jump off because I know there are plenty of people calling in as well. So I'll start with, what do you guys think about Khan Zoo?
Amir Khan versus Kostya Tszyu? Like, you're talking like mythical matchup?
No, you're talking about...
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're talking about Khan Tszyu, 126. Leo Santa Cruz is the WBA Super World at 126. I don't know if Leo Santa Cruz is still holding on to that belt, or if Khan Tszyu, has been elevated. But right now, from my understanding, Josh Warrington and Khan Tszyu are supposed to be fighting, correct?
Yes, that's what I've heard, though, but nothing's really official since everything else is getting canceled. So I really like that matchup, though. I think it's probably going to be another war.
Yeah, because for one, Khan Tszyu is 18-2 with 3 KOs. He's not really known as a knockout puncher. So yeah, in my opinion, they're gonna be throwing a whole bunch of punches. But I don't think that it might end up being a fight of the year on that type, angle. But they're not both of them are not known as being like knockout guys.
That's true. No one in 126 right now. There's no big punchers at all. The only puncher I see is Shakur Stevenson, and he's not like a knockout artist or anything like that.
No.
It's just unfortunate because, all these guys at the top, they have low knockout ratios, and no one really cares about 126 because of that. And I think featherweight is a very underrated division. I've come to love that division ever since I started watching Khan Tszyu's fight. He's a really underrated fighter. That guy can throw a lot of punches and he can take a lot too.
Crazy volume.
Yeah, but 126 is like, it's kind of all over the place because you got Gary Russell. I was at his fight when he fought Tuck Student in the MBR. He's the WBC champion at 126. He doesn't really know what he's going to do, but he's pretty much saying whenever he does come back that he is going to vacate. You got Khan Tszyu right there, WBA World, and you got Leo Santa Cruz just pretty much holding on to that WBA Super World. Josh Warrington is the IBF, and then you got Shakur Stevenson versus, the WBO. So in a perfect world, the winner of Warrington and Tszyu should fight the winner or there has been some type of talk, from my understanding, to fight the winner of Shakur Stevenson versus, who was he supposed to fight again? Miguel Mariaga.
Yeah,
So
I think honestly. Sorry, go ahead.
And then you can possibly have a 3-belt unification right there. Sometime, whenever boxing, within a year of when boxing picks back up.
Oh, that sounds great, but I don't think either one of them beats Shakur Stevenson, especially Kanzu. That guy has absolutely no defense. Not too long ago, I watched his fight against Jesus Rojas, and he took a whole bunch of punches, and I think Shakur Stevenson would piece him up real bad. I think he'd actually stop him, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think,
would.
but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Gary could too. I still, for my money, Gary Russell Jr. is the best featherweight in the world, regardless if he fights this year or not. Again, I don't know. But Leo Santa Cruz has the WBA at 126 and 130. I thought the BA finally had stripped him at 26, but they haven't. I'm just checking right now. But he's going to fight Gervonta Davis at 135 in the fall. That's probably going to be in LA. When that happens, they're going to have to strip at least one of those titles. I know it's the WBA, but they'll have to eventually strip them. But these guys just need to fight each other. 126 was such a solid division for a while. I agree with TstreeT. It's all up in the air right now because just you don't know who the top dog is. I like Shakur Stevenson. He's settling into his man strength, but he still hasn't fought nobody. So, they were talking about, remember, him fighting Warrington, and then that kind of fell apart. So I just want to see him fight somebody and get over the hump. He needs that kind of like proving ground type of fight. I like Shanku, or Khan Shu. I can't say the name. I like Khan Shu a lot, but he's going to go as far as his chin's going to take him. I mean, that dude blocks punches with his face. He doesn't punch very hard. Crazy output, makes for exciting fights. But at some point, he's just going to get chopped up and beat. That's just the way I see him. What's your other question, man?
So my other question is, at 160 right now, it's commonly known that Golovkin and Canelo are the big money fights, right? But everybody's forgetting about Riyada Murata. That guy puts he literally sells out stadiums. I mean, 15 to 20 million people on that tiny island of Japan watches that guy, and nobody cares about him for some reason. He is a monster in that division as well. I think Charlo or Andre should fight that guy straight in Tokyo or something like that. Because that'd be one killer fight, in my opinion.
I'd love to see it.
Apparently, no one cares about Asian fighters that much, which is unfortunate. So,
well, I think here the American fight press is basically all of American media is ethnocentric. It's American focused, right? And people just don't seem to understand that there's this world outside of America called Earth. And people here think LA is a big city, New York's a big city. Tokyo fucking dwarfs it. I've been to Shanghai. Shanghai dwarfs New York and LA, right? Tokyo is a massive market. Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, all these cities over there in that part of the world, Seoul, Hong Kong, big cities, huge markets. So if you have a guy like Ryoto Murata, who's not a global superstar, let's be honest, outside of Japan, nobody knows who he is. But in Japan, this dude's pictures are on subways. This dude's pictures are on billboards. He's a name over there. For the life of me, if you're Charlo or if you're Demetrius Andre, let's stick with Andre because he's the one who complains the most. If you're Eddie Hearn, man, why not make a deal with Grandpa Bob and send Andre over there to fight in the Tokyo Dome in front of 50,000 people and make a ton of fucking money fighting Ryoto Murata? That could happen. And if you beat him, you make a ton of money. You also collect what Murata has a piece of one of the titles, I think, the WBA regular. So, that would help build up your brand for Andre or for Charlo. I know that both Canelo and Golovkin's team have talked about it already. Eventually, one of those guys is going to go over there and take that fight. Why the hell hasn't Andre or Charlo or one of those guys demanded it? Because they could make that fight, particularly Andre. It's a makeable fight.
Yeah, I know Golovkin was like the first guy at 160, looking for that fight if he had beaten Canelo in their rematch, which I thought was a good fight, but apparently people think Riyada Murata is just a bum, which he isn't, because I think if Andre isn't careful with him, Murata would actually piece him up real bad. And him and Charlo, that would do monstrous numbers in Japan because Charlo and Murata are both come forward fighters. That would make probably the bloodiest war in 160 right now. I think that's even more brutal than Triple G versus Derevyanchenko. Like, actually a lot more brutal since those two guys are much younger than the other two guys that just fought almost a year ago.
Yeah, in terms of styles, I mean, Murata makes for fun fights. He's not the most defensively minded fighter. I've had a couple up close looks at him. Even when he first went pro, I went to a couple of his first fights. He fought here in the States a couple times, and I was there. He has improved on some things. The one thing about him is he's a little stiff. And against an athletic, quick guy like Charlo, like Andre, they could have success against him. At the same time, though, if he could time them and punch with them, he could have success and he could hurt them as well. So I'd love to see any of those fights. He's just got to, I was going to say get more active, but right now nobody can be active. At some point, man, they got to fight each other. The biggest problem right now at 160, look, we all know Canelo and Golovkin are going to fight each other later this year. That third fight's happening. That's a big part why DAZN brought them on. And then particularly Canelo, he's going to weight hop for the rest of his career. He's going to be Floyd and do what Floyd did, just higher up the scale. And Gennady's probably going to go to 68 too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I really hate that whole weight hopping crap. I know you've spoken a lot about it before, but I like it when one guy just stays in the division and he just dominates. Kind of like what Golovkin did, especially Vladimir Klitschko. No one's really done that in quite some time. And to me, that's more historic than just jumping from one weight to another. I just think that's kind of silly.
Yeah, but that's what they do now, man. It's opportunistic matchmaking. I'm with you. I like when a guy stays in one division and cleans that shit out. I want to see Marvin Hagler. I want to see what Vladimir Klitschko did. That's the kind of thing I want to see. Someone own a division, be the guy, and run it for a couple years. But that's not going to happen at 60, bro. It's going to be a blown up division for a few years. It's unfortunate, but that's it, man. Let me get another call, bro. All right. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right, I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You too, brother.
All right, man.
All right, let's jump on real quick and take another call here. 3538, you're on TNC. Go.
How's it going? What's up, T? What's up, Mike? How's it going?
What's up, man?
Real fast. I just want to touch on the Warrington Zhangjiu situation. So Eddie Hearn is petitioning for that fight to be for the super title because Santa Cruz has moved up and the WBA have made a statement that the title will be going vacant. So they're petitioning for Zhangjiu to be upgraded. So that's the situation there. So that'll be an actual full unification. They're also trying to petition for the Ring Magazine belt, and if they do, and Gary Russell isn't involved in the Ring Magazine title, it just shouldn't happen. So that's according to Eddie Hearn. So please, Mike, for the love of God, make sure that shit doesn't happen.
All right. Sure. I will talk to my people. I'll let them know what you. And I agree with you. I still think Gary Russell Jr. is the number one featherweight right now. He's the top guy. So there cannot be a Ring Magazine belt on the line if he's not involved in the fight. I'm with you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, now, as you guys were talking about the whole boy TBC and everything, I was just listening like with a close ear because a lot of it rings home to me. Because when I first came into the YouTube boxing community myself, the whole point of me first coming in was for history purposes, and I was originally talking about the color line at the start of it. That's what I used to talk about the most, the color line being drawn with John L. Sullivan and guys like Charles C. Williams or C.C. Smith, Charles C. Smith, and how the white guy didn't need the black guy to fight or whatever. And then when I come into the YouTube boxing community, I don't see much of communities or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm adulterated with this anti-white brigade, and that's very alien to me where I'm from. And if I say anything that goes against a black fighter or for a white fighter, or anything for a black fighter or against a white fighter, I'm automatically adulterated as racist, and as that was growing for me and I started to see the community rise and the unity, I started to see this fear-mongering sense of you can't speak as a man on here without being labeled something, whether you're white or you're black, or you're yellow, or whatever color you are, or your skin, or your demographic, where you're from. If you say anything, you'll either be labeled a sellout to your own community, and this is me speaking as a white guy, like who was championing the rights of the black fighter in the origins. I was called a token black guy, right? And then I see people like T, and he's dealt with this a lot, who speaks out against different people who are trying to race bait everything in and whatever, and he gets called a Q. And it's genuinely like just disgraceful, like to the point where I don't get it. So like, where did this all like originate from? Like, why is there like, it's like a switch over 100 years. At first in boxing, years and like over a century ago, like with John L. Sullivan, we see the white community segregate itself off from the black fighter, and the black fighter get no fucking rights. And now in terms of fandom in the YTBC, you have the black community segregating themselves off from the white people, yet calling the white people racist while they're doing the same thing the white people did over a century ago. So where does that start?
Bro, I can't even listen. I'm trying to figure it out. You know, and as Mike was saying, you know, if you've been looking at what Ishe Smith has been going through, I just look and be like, damn, brother, you just realizing this? You know, and I think, like, for the other boxers who have been dealing with it, like guys like Andre Ward, it's like, yo, and Timothy Bradley, people, I mean, we all know this because they own the ESPN top ringside, so they're looked at as being racist because they work for Bob Arum. Or not for Bob Arum, but over on the Bob Arum side. You know, so, you know, I look at it like, man, like, it's a narrative. Sometimes in my heart, I be thinking, like, do these people really believe this? Or do they just like a storyline?
Right.
You know, like, it's just how they really feel. I know for sure that I really feel in my heart that the YouTubers themselves, I don't feel they believe in all of this stuff. I think they're just doing it to line their pockets, and they're surprised themselves that they got so many people following them. You know, but you know how it is, you know, where, you know, weak-minded can be easily influenced, you know, and they found the pocket of people that they can easily influence.
There are people out there that want a certain narrative fed to them. There are people out there that have real prejudices. And I don't come from this school that certain people can be prejudiced and certain people can't. That's all bullshit. Everyone can be prejudiced. Everyone has biases. The real world knows what real racism is. Anyone can be racist, biased, whatever term you want to use. And if there are people out there on the fringes of the internet that want a certain narrative fed, so they will pay money. They will come out of their pocket. That last $5 in their wallet, they will give it to get a narrative fed because they're so deluded and so biased and they live in such a bubble. They will go and search for a certain media, quote unquote, source that makes them feel validated. And when they find it, boom, they're all in and they're giving their money up. And it's not just in boxing, it's in all forms of media. It's the dark side, and I don't mean that racially, it's the dark side, 2020, I have to say that. It's the dark side of social media. Social media has done more to lift people up out of poverty. I mean, Facebook's done amazing work in the third world. A lot of social media has helped people have a voice that didn't have one before. It's done more good than bad, but there are bad parts to it. I love the fact that a 15-year-old kid who's interested in boxing could start a YouTube channel and talk into his phone and give his opinions on fights and have a voice. That's a voice that a young fan didn't have 20, 30, 40 years ago. I love that. But the dark side, the flip side of it is there are some people that can prey upon sheep to make money. And TstreeT, you hinted on this with Ishe Smith, you know, him just learning kind of about the LDBC because one of those guys called him out. So he's been battling with that dude on Twitter. It is interesting to me that for so long, people didn't realize this shit was going on because back in 2014, 2015, 2016, myself, I talked about it. I'll name a couple of colleagues of mine, Steve Kim, Doug Fisher, talked about it in open and honest ways, and we took so much shit for it. And now people are finally starting to catch up. That's the one positive I would say. At the same time, you know, I tweeted last Thursday that TstreeT was going to be on my show. And I saw a couple people that follow me and follow him, dude, calling you coon and saying that you're a sellout for doing my show And that who's the one guy who said that you're going to talk about your people badly?
It's going to get worse. Wait till you see the comments.
I can't
after
understand.
They watch the video over.
I can't understand that frame of mind, bro. Because why does it always have to be tribal like that? I guess with some people it does. Let me state this for the record. 99% of black people could give a flying fuck about color. And black boxing fans just want to watch boxing. And it's the same thing with Caucasian fight fans, Asian fight fans, mestizo fight, whatever. Everybody, most people don't give a shit. But there's this community of people, and for some reason they have a disproportionate amount of power in the American fight media that obsess over this shit. And I want to hit on something real quick because TstreeT, I want your thoughts on this. And Mark, I don't know if you're aware of the term the demographic that came out a few years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm aware. Because
that's a big thing with the LDBC, and they've jumped on that and they've used that. It's not a term that's used anymore, but I want to get TstreeT's opinions on it, but I want to put this out there because that's probably going to be brought up after this video gets out there and makes waves. The demographic term, okay, that came up in the fight media in LA because people were talking about they weren't the LDBC yet. They were just YouTubers that were obsessed with demographics. Everything they said was about demographics. Every narrative, every conspiracy theory, every fight, everything that they looked at was through that prism of demographics. It didn't have to be race. It could be what nationality a fighter was, what country they were from, what part of the country they were from. But it was always demographics. And that became the running joke because let me tell you, some of these guys have pretty big platforms and their videos get out there. And although the power brokers in the sport of boxing don't talk about it, they send those videos around. I can tell you I've been in conversations that were on social media and in person where people are like, yo, come here, check this shit out. I'm talking network executives at HBO, Showtime. I'm talking promoters, high-level dudes in the business. We're like, look at this video. Look at what this fucking idiot's saying. And people were laughing and joking about it. And so that term, the demographic, it was basically a play on words, making fun of these people of all races that were obsessed with demographics. That's what that term meant. That was it. There was no racial connotation to it. It was ideological. The demographic was an ideology, but it became used as, oh, well, this is racist, blah, blah, blah. So, TstreeT, what are your thoughts on the whole demographic thing?
Well, it was, you got to look at who was saying it, the people who were starting the narrative. So, of course, if they look at you as the enemy, they're going to be like, oh, well, he shouldn't have never said that, so let's use this turning around on him. Like, that's how, like, you know, I look at it like when I do my videos and when I decide, you know what? I don't like the way this person is representing the boxing community. And sometimes I get like that. Sometimes I'll just be, you know what? I feel like, you know, starting some shit with somebody. This motherfucker's got trash content and he's making my job harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video on him exposing. I'm not going to say no names, but I get like that sometimes. So I know that they can never really, like, how can I say, hurt my feelings or get me to a point where, like, they make me want to, like, quit or question if I want to do videos like that again. So when somebody like you or Steve Kim or even Doug Fisher or whoever says something like that, you got to think that y'all looked at as the establishment, the man. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, so they're going to try to do, you know, everything in their power to try to twist shit and turn shit around, especially with that's what they do. You know, so I never really knew that was an issue that was going around. I believe I heard it before or I seen it on Twitter, but I never really knew about it.
Yeah, it went around. It turned into the dummy graphic. That's what, you know, people started saying after the demographic caused so much trouble. But even somebody like Doug Fisher, who's half black, you know, he wrote about it in one of his mailbags. And he just spoke about it honestly, what it was and what it was not. And believe me, there are Caucasian members of the demographic. Some of them have gone after me on Twitter. So it goes in all directions. Is it predominantly young PBC Floyd fans? And that, yeah, that's primarily where it comes. And is it primarily LDBC guys? Yeah, that's where it started.
It started from Floyd Mayweather. You know, like basically it was Floyd Mayweather. And then those Floyd Mayweather fans, from my understanding, turned into all boom PBC fans as a whole. And then when PBC first started, we're like, all right, we're going to back this. Black boxing is taking over. We're going to be everywhere. And, you know, when that shit wasn't going the way that, you know, we all thought, because I was even, you know, on the PBC shit, like, yeah, this shit is going to take over. But, you know, that's when the whole narratives really started to try to sell. Like, don't worry, shit going to get better. Shit going to get better. And remember, at one point in time, things didn't get better over on the PBC side, you know? So in my opinion, that's where it really, really started, because for a guy like, you know, that's running all this, Al Heyman, you know, he's been given this, you know, kind of like Wilder. They've made him into like this, you know, this black savior, when really, I don't think Al give a fuck, from my understanding.
Yeah,
he don't understand none of this. He don't understand none of this shit that's going on. You know, so, you know, for it to be a black man, you know, to be involved with all these boxers, you know, black people as a culture, we were proud. I was like, yeah, you know what? Go ahead, Al Heyman. But then it became like a cult where he could do nothing wrong and nobody wanted to, you know, really tell the truth on our side. That's the way I look at it. Like, I was seeing like shit, like, wait a minute, he's putting on these bullshit fights and yet he's still getting praised for it. And I'm thinking, like, is it a joke, or are they just ride with him just because, you know, he black? But then after a while, I realized, you know, getting to know these people that were doing these videos, I said, wait a minute, they know a lot of these fights we getting trashed, but yet they're going to keep on with the narrative, like, okay, well, you know what, we're going to trash that other side and just support our side. You know, you have one YouTuber. I know you saw the video where the one YouTuber, you know, I'm not going to say that guy's name. I will say he had some issues with a boxing trainer and some shit went down. Where he actually did a video stating, like we did, you know, pretty much saying we did all this, you know, good press for your side and bad press for the other side intentionally.
Yeah.
You know, because you were black. He went into
he
video
basically
saying we were on the front line.
Exposed the whole thing.
And all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got mad, like, when his press credential got pulled. He got really mad, and it just happened to be by a woman who is not black, who runs that side of the thing with PBC, and he really, really went in on her, even though that's the type of woman he likes to date. But well, one of.
Yeah.
But I think we all know who you're talking about, bro.
Can I ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark. We've just been talking over you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is just for T. Did you ever find out why he slept with him?
What? No, I'm not reading that shit. You brought that fucking book he wrote? I wouldn't dare, bro.
No, bro, I can't, bro. There's only one copy available, and it's $925. I ain't buying that shit.
Oh, it's only one copy available. Yeah, well, if y'all didn't look it up, I'm not even going to. He already told you the title. Yeah, there's some strange things going on.
Apparently, there was one before that too. Brother. Yeah, he fancied himself the big man on campus. He wasn't. I did a lot of looking into that person because he went after me, and I still have connections through my old world that I can find out information on people pretty quickly. All I got to do is make a phone call. And the things I learned about that individual honestly made me pity him. The person that he puts online and the person that is in real life are two very different people. Very different.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real fast?
Absolutely.
Has this got anything to do with the fact that he's living off of his wife in a one-bedroom apartment and that he's kind of that the stuff across the street are boarded up? I've actually heard this from someone who lives on his street.
Bro, he's a millionaire. So, shut up. He's a millionaire.
Yeah, man.
Well, this is my opinion. This isn't T-Street's or Mike's opinion. That's all.
Yeah. We have to put that disclosure out there. So. And look, man, I don't want to talk bad about somebody because of their situation or whatever, but when you're going after people and you're trying to represent something that you're not, again, T-Street, just to go full circle about why you were one of the guys I looked at on YouTube, and I'm like, I like this dude. I want to emulate his style because I could tell you were just being who you are. You weren't trying to put on a face. You weren't trying to, a lot of guys put on the announcer voice and you got to talk like this. You weren't doing that. You weren't being anybody that you're not. And you were just representing who you are and giving your opinions. And if it offends people, fuck them. Right? So That's the way I am. Now,
much.
That hurts me in the business. My phone doesn't ring as much as it used to, but I guess that's just the way these things go, man. I guess, I don't know. I mean, Mark, you're a boxing historian. I know you go back and you do a lot of reading. You're really, really up on your shit when it comes to boxing history and stuff like that. Where are we at right now, in your opinion, in boxing history? Is this a new changing of the guard with these kind of people? Or is this like a passing thing that 10 years from now we'll talk about? Remember the LDBC phase? Remember that shit? And kind of, it's like going to be a joke that we'll laugh about. Or is this part of the new beginning?
Boxing has never been short of crazy fans. Going all the way back to way worse than this. Don't forget, there were times where if you were a fan of a specific fighter, you were lynched for it based on race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are different periods. You had people being attacked outside of stadiums in the 20s and 30s, not even down to color, but because they liked a specific style of fighter even. You had people who were put on whispering lists and being told to be quiet during the mob period. So when you go up to this, I like to call this political correctness, you can't say what you like era, pretty much even in a period of free speech. So when it comes down to the idea of is it a passing of the guard, no, you'll always find fugazis in every area. and it's as simple as that. You'll always have them 10 years from now. You'll still have collections of crazy fans cashing in on fighters once there's a platform where you can profitize off of it. As long as there's that platform on social media, you'll have it. Social media just makes it more attainable.
I'm glad people are more aware of what's going on with this YouTube or social media, boxing media generation, because this has been going on for a good few years, a little longer now, and it wasn't getting no type of recognition until people started, calling out Al Heyman, calling out Kelly Swanson, calling out, Andre Ward and executives and all that. So that's why I feel like, well, it's about time you started listening, and wondering why, and these are the same people, that, are bashing these events, but not paying for them, saying, we're not going to get ESPN Plus. We're not going to get the zone. Don't do it. It's run by the white man. That doesn't help the sport. It doesn't help the fighters, because obviously these networks and these streaming services have fighters from all races. Like, that shit is, it is counterproductive. It just doesn't, it doesn't help. Like, nobody at the end of the day except the people who are pushing out the narratives. It helps their pocket.
That's it, man. That's my biggest beef with all of it, is that, look, at the end of the day, I don't have to agree with you, your opinion, what you're saying, how you feel, the way you chop up the fights, whatever. But if what you're doing is objective, reasonable, logic-based, even if it's not my cup of tea, my style, if it's helping promote the sport of boxing in any way, I support it, even if I don't agree with it. But when you're doing something that is literally poisonous to the community, and you're indoctrinating young, impressionable fans that don't have the concept of boxing history and understand what they're talking about, because they just started watching boxing, when Floyd fought Pacquiao. That's when they came to boxing. Or when Deontay Wilder knocked out Arthur Szpilka. That's when they started watching boxing, So these are young guys, and they don't have a concept of history. And you're flooding their mind with this bullshit. It's not good, man. You're not building fans of the sport. You're building fans of a platform. You're building fans of a fighter. And that can't last. That just can't last. So, Mark, go ahead and get in one last word, and then I got to let you go, man. We got to wrap up the show.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. T, we'll get this shout out to my favorite presidents, Lincoln and Kennedy. Take care.
You watched the video.
Shit. That was a great video, by the way. Real quick, a couple super chats from B Buteman. He asks, will the WBSS, World Boxing Super Series, Cruiserweight final happen? Do you think the WBSS will have any future tournaments at any weight? Love your work, Mike. Thank you so much, my man. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, the Cruiserweight finale is going to happen. It was scheduled to happen. They just had to postpone it. So that will happen. As far as a third season, TstreeT, what do you think, man? Is this World Boxing Super Series? Are you confident?
I don't think they got the money for a third season, just to keep it for real. Come on. I mean, look at the issues that they had just getting You know, like they're putting through on an empty gas tank. It seems like with this last cruiserweight final. Remember what happened with Prograis
Yeah.
versus Taylor? You know, that had to be on Sky Sports on a co-feature. Basically, they had to get Derek Chisora on the card to pretty much push it through.
Yeah.
You know, so and then with the Donaire and Inoue, you know, saying they didn't get their money till at the last minute. I'm not confident in the third season. I'm just not.
Yeah, man, I want to be because I really like what they did, but especially now, I mean, I'm going to say it, COVID-19, who knows how that may have messed things up. But it just the budget for everyone is going to be different now. And if you're a subscription-based service like DAZN, which is what the World Boxing Super Series, you know, the platform it's featured on here, how are these subscription services going to survive? How are you going to, in the right mind, how are you going to charge people knowing that there's no fucking content and this little cartoon fights they just had, that's not enough. So I don't know about that third season, man. I don't know, and that's a shame. Another super chat from John Uden. Thank you so much, John. He asked, when will any of the champs at 168 finally face off? Will Benavidez still have to face Angulo, or can they jump to the Plant fight? Good question. Thank you so much, John. What do you think about that, T-Street?
I think they're going to keep the original plans. You know, in a perfect world, I would love to think that they would say, you know what, we're going to scrap all the trash fights or the ones that we didn't want, fans didn't really want to see, and just start fresh. I think they're going to continue with the plans. I think we're still going to see Benavidez versus Romer and Gulo. I just think that everything's, you know, going to get pushed back. And hopefully, one thing I've been concerned about is how many fighters are right out there right now using this COVID-19 to get fat and, you know,
yeah.
We don't know what effect this is going to have on a lot of fighters.
I've been saying that from the beginning.
For when you know a promoter or manager calls them up and say, "All right, you know, it's time to get back to work. You know, let's get." You know, I don't know. And then with the way things are looking, the fighters need an 8-week training camp. Yeah. You know, right now here in the States, things are shut down until at least the end of April. So we may not get any fights until what, September if we're lucky.
Yeah, man, I've been talking to several promoters and several commission people, and basically, at best, we're going to get club-level shows here in the States over the summer. I'm talking July. They're going to go forward like that PBC show from Oxon Hill, Maryland, that was scrapped. Shakur Stevenson's fight that was scrapped in New York, you know, Michael Conlan's fight. That level of fight, that's what we're going to get in July. The first real decent fights here in the States are not happening until September. And I'm with you. They're not going to change the plan. Errol Spence was going to fight on pay-per-view early in the summer, May or June. That's pushed back till September. He's only fighting once this year, but it's still pay-per-view. Caleb Plant and everything at 168, they were trying to set it up for a pay-per-view fight later down the year, at the end of this year, between him and Benavidez. That ain't happening until next year now. They wanted to do Spence fighting earlier this summer and then him fight Pacquiao later this year. That ain't happening until next year. So the only good spot, I guess, the bright spot is that this fall schedule is going to be loaded and opening of 2021 is going to be loaded. But you guys are still going to get a lot of those pay-per-views over on the PBC side and including ESPN2. Lomachenko Lopez, that's pay-per-view. That's definitely going to pay-per-view. But yeah, man, everything just got pushed back.
Brooke goes through, that's probably going to be pay-per-view because Crawford's got to have a fight.
Absolutely.
You know, you got to think the promoters are going to want to capitalize and make as much money as possible to close out this year. I'm pretty much sure they're phoning this year in for their fighters to have one fight if they haven't fought already.
Yep. Within a 4-month period, you're probably going to get 5 or 6 of them, man. I hate to say that, but it's very possible because with PBC, you're going to get at least 3 of them. Wilder Fury 3, whatever, regardless of what Bob Arum said originally, the plan was always for that to be in October. That's when that fight's happening.
Mm.
So and I got that directly from people tied to the contract. Like, that's when it's happening. That's pay-per-view. Errol Spence is fighting September. I can't tell you who's going to fight. I think you guys know, but I promised I'd keep it off the record. That's in September. That's pay-per-view. And then in November, there's going to be another PBC pay-per-view, maybe Manny Pacquiao, someone like that. So that's 3 right there. And then you're getting 2 from ESPN. You're getting Crawford and Brooke, and then you're getting Lomachenko Lopez. So that's 5 right there. And it sucks if they were smart, they discount that shit to like $59.99 or whatever. They're
They
not going
should.
to.
People not gonna have no money.
Yeah, dude, this shit's going to be $85 like the rest of them. Those
People
numbers
don't
are
got
going to
no
be
money, and they're
bad.
gonna really do that.
Those numbers are going to be really bad. Another super chat pledge from Andre. Thank you so much, man. He asked, or he says, at this slow times, you guys, Michael, TstreeT, and Richard Dwyer should do some videos about the best top pound for pound, different divisions, fights, fighters during different decades, eras, all time. Yeah, I like that idea, brother. I like that a lot. Thank you so much for the super chat. And I appreciate it, man. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we need to be doing, right? TstreeT is just looking at some historical
Yeah.
stuff, right? I know Showtime this weekend, they aired the Vasquez-Marquez series, the 3 fights, because the 4th fight don't matter. But those 3 fights are outstanding. We need to see more of that shit. And if you're DAZN, I get it. You have a library of fights, but dude, put out content. I've been saying forever, DAZN needs to bring on podcasts. They need to bring on guys like you and I,
Something. They don't have, I don't know what they're thinking, but one thing I've been looking for damn sure, I've been looking to see if they're going to charge my card.
Oh, fuck
you
yeah.
know, I got 3 of those. I got 3 of those accounts. But so far, you know, I think they're doing the right thing. So far, I haven't been charged. If they go the route of not charging, but not letting people know they're not charging, then they don't have to worry about people just mass unsubscribing, because right now, look at all the momentum they're going to lose.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pretty much start fresh.
It's awful, man, because their 4th quarter last year was outstanding. It really was.
And they can't start off. They can't put something out and say, "Hey guys, you know, due to the convict, we're not going to have because then people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to unsubscribe now." You know, it sucks for them, but you know, they got, you know, I think that they're going to roll right into Canelo versus Golovkin. They're going to need something to hit hard.
Yeah.
Like here in the States, like when all this is off the ground.
Yeah, they can't do the fight between Canelo and Saunders, because at the very, very earliest, May 1 is when things are going to open up. And even then, it's not going to open up to the point where you can have a crowd. You can open things up to where
they're not going to try.
You could do a sound stage, right? They need that revenue from the fans.
Canelo is not fighting on no sound. You know, guys like Canelo and guys like Joshua need that gate money. You know, they're not, you know, lower level fighters, you know, no disrespect, but, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but it's some guys. Like, okay, I'm going to say a guy like Demetrius Andrade, no offense, but, you know, he can do a studio fight. Ain't nobody going to give a fuck. But a guy like Canelo, you know, he ain't doing no studio fight. He needs that ticket money.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they need that ticket revenue, especially in Vegas, man, because it's not just the ticket, it's the hotels, it's the packages with the whales and everything that they bring in. All that, you have to have it. So you can't have a Canelo Billy Joe Saunders fight in May with no crowd in some soundstage somewhere. It just can't happen. So I'm with you. They can't also push back Canelo Golovkin to 2021. They got to get right on that. So that's probably what's going to happen. Billy Joe Saunders is ass out again. But, you know, hey, he's had opportunities in the past and he blew it. That's on him. TstreeT, man, I'll let you go, dude. But before we go, I just want to thank you for jumping on here and talking with everybody, man. I really appreciate it. Again, you're a guy that I respect the hell out of. And I know there's going to be some fallout from this video, this conversation. Dude, we'll just have fun trolling these motherfuckers. Let everybody know where they can find you, follow you, and anything else you want to say, man, before you drop off.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. You know, I've been known to be notoriously hard to get in contact with and do interviews and all that, but, you know, this was fun. This was different. You can reach me on Twitter, even though this is my second account. Lost my first one due to being too controversial and hardcore. But it's TstreeT for life. That's the number 4 on Twitter. Obviously, TstreeT Controversy on YouTube, and TstreeT Controversy on Facebook. Now, right now, I'm at a point of I'm transitioning to being more podcast and audio related content. Obviously, for those who are watching, my post-fight content and videos are not going to go anywhere. You know, we stream media calls, major press conferences, post-fight press conferences. But as time goes on, you know, I'm really going for more longer lasting and more interactive content. But as it stands right now, you know, we don't know when boxing is going to be back, or, you know, when, you know, significant boxing is going to be back. But nonetheless, I'm going to be here, man. Mike, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. And let me know when I can come on to your show, man. Come do something on your channel. All right?
Definitely. You guys have a good night.
All right, bro. All right, guys. That's TstreeT. Make sure that you follow him. Make sure you check him out. I'm sure most of you guys already do. But as you can see, just a good guy, man. A smart guy. Just a smart individual. And somebody, again, whose work I enjoy. Even when he's kind of going in and just trashing dudes. Like some of his videos where he exposes guys and calls them out are just fucking outstanding. Love him. And he can go a little further with some of that stuff than I can go, because I am beholden to certain platforms. I got to reel some of that in. But he no holds bar, just speaks his mind. And I love it, man. Again, I will ask you guys to please share this video. If you're listening on one of the audio platforms, share the podcast, okay? Get it out there. I need you guys to do that. I know I say that, and a lot of you guys are like, yeah, whatever. Do it, okay? I just found out today one of the platforms I've worked with for years, Boxing Monthly, has gone under, okay? We're done as of May. So it's so important, guys, that you support content creators, independent like myself, and then magazines, websites, everything. Help out in one way that you can help. Look, if you want to help out with a super chat or a Patreon, I'm so happy for those of you who do that. I can't thank you enough. But if you can't do that, I understand. And just retweet this show. Just tweet it out there. Just post it on your Facebook. How hard is that shit? It takes 5 seconds. Just go to Apple Podcasts and drop a rating, drop a review. It takes you guys 2 minutes. You just listen to me yap for an hour and a half. All I'm asking is for 1 extra minute, 60 more seconds to go do that for me, okay? I need that help, guys. That helps me get the word out there, okay? But let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. What a great show today, man. I knew TstreeT was going to be good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Now I got to get back to work. I got a couple articles I'm working on, and that's it. So we'll do it again next Monday, guys. Remember to stay safe and do the right thing, all right? So, I'll see you at the fights.